Hello and welcome to Cleveland Classic Cinema. Today's movie is 1958's Monster from Green Hell, directed by Kenneth G. Crane.
The jungle becomes the graveyard of man and beast as the mighty herd stampede in panic before the paralyzing fear of these monsters from the Green Hell.
The animals flee from Green Hell. This I have seen.
And there is something, perhaps even monsters, but a thing of nature, not of evil spirits.
This is the drone of death. The terrifying sound of the monstrous cosmic ray mutations unleashed upon the jungle from a rocket run wild.
Can you guess how big the creature itself must be?
Yeah. But we won't have to guess at it, Dan. We'll see for ourselves.
Out of all mankind's millions, only a handful know the full horrifying danger. Their strange safari to fight the giant insect enemy, filmed with thrilling impact. See the battle with the warlike Kanagas, driven wild by their superstitious fear of the monsters. See the subatomic barrage, powerless against these invincible enemies.
Monster from Green Hell is another example of the endless parade of 1950s horror movies inspired by a complete misunderstanding of the effects of radiation. This time, however, the culprit is radiation from space rather than atomic bombs, so I suppose that gives it an edge over the others in some way. The story involves a colony of wasps sent into space to test the effect spaceflight has on living creatures. When the rocket they're in crash lands in Africa, reports begin to filter back to the States that wasps of unusual size are killing natives. So the two scientists responsible for the mess decide to see if they can sort things out with some good old American firepower. They spend about half the movie walking the 400 miles inland to investigate and run headlong into the biggest collection of stock footage I think I've ever seen. Good use is made of most of the stock footage, however. While it does pad the running time of the film out considerably, like in The Indestructible Man, some of it's used to make the film more exciting. For example, the amazing shot where what looks like 2,000 or 3,000 hostile natives crest a hill and attack the safari. One of the problems in using stock footage for a movie like this is that the filmmaker is forced to dress his main actors the same way the characters in the scenes he's appropriated are dressed. Since the long shots of the safari are lifted from the movie Stanley Livingstone, hero Jim Davis has to wear a pith helmet ensemble from the late 1800s. The two scientists in this film, played by Jim Davis and Robert Griffin, are spectacularly unprepared for their trip through the jungles of Africa. Why they have to walk the 400 miles through the jungle to get where they want to go is beyond me. There were helicopters in 1958 after all, and to be blunt, Robert Griffin doesn't look like he's up to taking a stroll around the block, much less walking through 400 miles of jungle terrain. At the very least, however, they prepare well for their trip. They spend a couple of weeks getting ready for the trip buying beads, mirrors, and wire. Once they get started, we're treated to the usual shots of elephants, giraffes, and other jungle life walking around. And after being sidetracked by hostile natives, they reroute and manage to run out of drinking water. They never run out of cigarettes, though, so at least they have their priorities straight. The thing that gets me about that is they reroute their path by 75 miles. I would have figured 1 or 2 miles would have done the trick. I mean, it's not like the natives are tracking these guys in a global positioning system or anything. Jim Davis, who plays Dr. Quint Brady, appeared in 110 movies and 94 television programs throughout his career, starting with a walk-on in 1942's Cairo. He's probably best remembered for playing Jock Ewing, the patriarch of the Ewing clan on Dallas. His only child, Tara Diane, was killed in a car crash at the age of 16, and he became very close on the set of Dallas to Victoria Principal, as she closely resembled his late daughter. He died of brain cancer on April 26, 1981. Barbara Turner, who appears in this film as the incredibly dour-looking Lorna, acted in 8 movies and 12 television shows during her career. In her defense, she's not given much to do in this movie other than lean on poles or cave walls and stare morosely off camera. But she's a fair walk down the road from your typical 1950s heroine in the beauty department. She enjoyed a bit more success as a writer, penning, among others, the screenplay for 2000's Pollock, and is currently working on an as-yet unnamed project about Ernest Hemingway due for release in 2006. She's also the mother of Jennifer Jason Leigh. Eduardo Cianelli, who plays Mari, the Arab guide, appeared in 105 movies and 53 television shows, usually playing a mafioso or an old Italian guy. He was born on August 30th, 1889 in Ischia, Italy. He died of cancer on October 8th, 1969 in Rome, Italy. You know, I try to be as informative and entertaining as I can during these intros, but for an alarmingly increasing number of the movies we show here on Cleveland Classic Cinema, there's just not that much information to relate. I can usually find some tidbit of trivia about a location or a production aspect that I can expand on, but you can only say so much about the use of Bronson Canyon or stock footage, although I'm sure you noticed I gave it a good try in this one. What I try to avoid, even though I'm not entirely successful at it, is the temptation to put down the movie we're showing. See, in addition to hosting Cleveland Classic Cinema, I also work in production, so I know how difficult it is to create an entertaining product. Just about everything starts out as a grand idea which is nurtured and crafted over time, but nothing, and I mean nothing, ever gets to the screen with the original idea or intentions completely intact. There are literally thousands of things that can go horrendously wrong during production, and poking fun at things completely beyond the filmmaker's control, it's just not right. Of course, every once in a while there's a movie like The Creeping Terror or Maniac that are so transparently created with such a complete lack of care and talent that finding something to compliment them about is akin to watching a very special Ross and Rachel episode of Friends without dry heaving. It's possible, but you'll probably give yourself a brain hemorrhage trying. So what I'm going to do is leave it up to you, our viewers. If you would like to see me destroy a movie when I come across one I can't find out anything about, email me at clevelandclassics@hotmail.com. It takes quite a bit of pushing for me to really tear apart a movie, and I only give scathing reviews to movies I really dislike. When I do this, I don't mince words, and by that I mean the profanity is apt to flow a bit heavier than if I were, say, talking to the Pope or something. Needless to say, if I eviscerate a movie on this show, the language won't flow quite as freely. Television has standards I have to strive to meet, and certain, shall we say, compound words don't fly here. If you'd like to see examples of some of my more expressive reviews, hop on the net and do a Google search under my name. Several movies I reviewed will come up. I think the first one you'll run into is I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which I absolutely hated. Once you go to the site, if you click my name at the top of the review, the hyperlink will take you to other reviews I've done on that site, and you'll see a few unexpurgated reviews of movies you've seen on this very show. Well, right now it's time to go from a heavily padded intro to a heavily padded film. So right now, sit back, relax, and enjoy Monster from Green Hell, right here on Cleveland Classic Cinema.